A dead man's phone rings in an empty house, carrying the one piece of news that would have fulfilled his final dying wish. For 40 years, Tricia Lucus stood by Toby Keith through every hit and every heartbreak. But on February 6th, just hours after his final breath, a phone call came that would have changed everything, and it is the one call Toby never got to answer. What was on the other end of that line? On that cold Tuesday morning, the Covell family home in Oklahoma was blanketed in a heavy, suffocating silence. Toby Keith, the larger-than-life patriot who had dominated country music charts for 3 decades, had finally found peace the night before on February 5th, 2024, after a long, brutal war with stomach cancer. As Tricia held her children, Shelley, Crystal, and Stellan, she was trying to navigate the unimaginable reality of a world without her husband. Yet, just a few hundred miles away in Nashville, Tennessee, the gears of the music industry were moving in a completely different direction, unaware of the tragedy that had just unfolded. For years, Toby Keith had lived life on his own terms, but his final chapter was a quiet battle fought behind closed doors, with Tricia serving as his anchor, his nurse, and his fiercest protector. When they first embarked on his treatment journey in Houston, it was Tricia who immediately stepped in, took control of the medical chaos, and told him, "We have got this. Let us go." She shielded him from the relentless glare of the media while he endured exhausting rounds of chemotherapy and radiation. But as Toby's physical strength began to fade, his determination to give his fans one last, unforgettable moment only grew. This determination culminated in September of 2023 at the People's Choice Country Awards, where Toby was honored with the Country Icon Award. His performance of "Don't Let the Old Man In" was hauntingly prophetic, a raw showcase of a man staring down his own mortality. In the audience, cameras caught Tricia with tears streaming down her face, a heartbreaking testament to the quiet agony they were facing together. But what the public didn't know was that behind that emotional performance lay a silent, ticking clock and an industry-wide secret that was about to collide with Toby's final hours. What was Nashville hiding from the dying legend? Write down your theory in the comments right now, because the truth of what happened behind closed doors in those final days is more shocking than anyone realized. As winter set in, Toby's health deteriorated rapidly, but his mind remained fixed on his artistic legacy. He was always a songwriter first, famously releasing a compilation of tracks he wrote entirely by himself. He had already climbed the ranks of the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame, but there was one ultimate peak he had yet to conquer: the Country Music Hall of Fame. He often joked in interviews that you had to be dead or 85 to get in. Little did he know, those words were a chillingly accurate prediction. On Friday, February 2nd, 2024, the final Hall of Fame ballots closed, sealing his fate. As he spent his final weekend surrounded by family, the results remained a closely guarded secret. Tell me in the comments if you believe Toby knew his time was running out. Because behind the scenes, the country music establishment was finalizing a vote that would collide with his final hours. Then, the unimaginable happened. On Tuesday morning, February 6th, Sarah Traherne, the chief executive officer of the Country Music Association, woke up to the devastating public announcement that Toby had passed away. Just a few hours later, the official envelope containing the tabulated voting results was placed on her desk. When she broke the seal, her heart completely stopped. Toby Keith had won. He was officially elected to the Hall of Fame, but he was already gone. This raises a disturbing question. Did the committee purposely delay the results, or was this simply a cruel twist of fate? This shocking discovery threw Nashville into a state of panic and profound sorrow. CMA Chief Executive Sarah Traherne later shared that her favorite duty is calling newly elected legends with the news of their induction. But on that Tuesday afternoon, looking at Toby's name on the list, she was crushed by the timing. He had passed away peacefully on February 5th. The votes were officially delivered to her on February 6th. The call Toby never got to answer was the one announcing his ultimate victory. But as the initial shock settled, a major bureaucratic crisis began to brew behind the scenes of the CMA. The association has a strict, long-standing rule preventing posthumous election in the year following a death, a policy carefully designed to avoid emotional sympathy votes. Suddenly, Toby's rightful place on the museum wall was threatened by an administrative technicality. Would they strip him of the honor because of a literal matter of hours, or would they break the sacred rules of country music? Ask yourself, if you were on that committee, would you have stood by the rules, or would you have demanded justice for Toby's legacy? The tension behind closed doors was palpable as executives scrambled to find a solution that wouldn't compromise the institution's integrity while avoiding a massive public backlash from millions of grieving fans. Fortunately, the timeline saved Toby's induction, because the final ballots had closed on Friday, February 2nd. 3 days before Toby's passing, he was technically a living artist when elected. The rule against posthumous election did not apply. On March 18th, 2024, the official announcement went forward in the Hall of Fame Rotunda in Nashville. Toby Keith, along with veteran John Anderson and legendary guitarist James Burton, would make up the class of 2024. But at the high-profile press conference, one crucial person was completely missing: Tricia Lucus. Instead, their 27-year-old son, Stellan Koval, stood at the podium to represent the family. Stellan spoke with incredible grace, thanking the Hall of Fame on behalf of his grieving mother and sisters. But his solitary presence only fueled the growing mystery. Why had Tricia retreated into total isolation during her husband's greatest professional moment? Was she too consumed by the bitter irony of the missed call, or was there a deeper, more private reason for her silence? The public wanted answers, and some even began to wonder if there was trouble brewing within the family estate. But the truth was far more emotional, and Tricia was quietly preparing a response that would leave the entire music industry speechless. For nearly a year, Tricia remained largely out of the public eye, making only a brief, silent appearance at the ACM Awards in May, where she sat quietly, refusing to speak to reporters. The heavy silence was finally shattered on October 20th, 2024, at the Country Music Hall of Fame medallion ceremony. When Tricia was called to the stage to accept Toby's medallion, the room fell completely silent with anticipation. Nobody knew what to expect. What followed was a stunning 16-minute tour de force of raw emotion and unspoken truths. Tricia did not deliver a standard corporate acceptance speech. Instead, she opened up about the agonizing final months of Toby's life, revealing intimate details that had never been shared with the public. She spoke of a man who, despite his patriotic, tough guy outer shell, possessed an incredibly tender heart. A man who loved his family with an intensity that rivaled his love for his country. But the most shocking moment came when she reached into her pocket and pulled out a worn, crumpled napkin. It was a piece of paper Toby had written on during one of his darkest days in the hospital, undergoing grueling chemotherapy treatments. The audience held their breath as she began to read his handwritten words aloud. What did Toby write on that napkin, and how did it completely redefine his legacy in his final moments? This was the ultimate revelation, a private message that bridged the gap between his earthly struggles and his eternal peace. The words Toby had scribbled on that hospital napkin were not a complaint or a cry of anger, but a profound expression of gratitude and surrender, proving that he didn't need a phone call from Nashville to validate the legendary life he had lived. He knew his worth, and he knew his family's love was the only Hall of Fame that truly mattered. Tricia's courageous speech didn't just accept an award. It beautifully closed the loop on a heartbreaking tragedy of timing, showing that while Toby missed the physical call of a lifetime, his legacy was already securely written in stone. Ask yourself, if you had the chance to say one last thing to the world, what would you write on your napkin? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you want to support the channel and discover more untold stories of country music's greatest legends, hit that subscribe button and check out our other video on your screen right now.